Excuse me.
What?
Did you get this approved by Puppy Boss?
I got approved by the HOA.
Since when are you on the HOA board?
She's not. I went over her head.
Oh, Liberty, did you hear that?
Hey guys, welcome back to Professional Weekenders YouTube channel. Today we're at home and we're going to continue with our DIY series and install a brand new NuvoH20 Manor Duo water softener and taste system. So if you want to know how to do it yourself, then stick around, you're in the right place. So let's go.
Let's go.
Alright guys, so here's how this is going to go. First we'll show you what we bought and go over the tools that you're going to need to install it yourself, and then we'll do the actual install process. So first thing that we bought is this cabinet. This is an Ivar cabinet from IKEA. They run about $70 to $80, and we bought this because the system itself does say in the instructions that it should not be in direct sunlight and should be protected from the elements. Now if you're in a climate that freezes, you may want to do something a little bit more substantial, but here in Florida it does not freeze. We don't have that problem, but I do want to protect it from the UV rays. So it does come with this neat little lock. That's really not that secure, but it should at least keep some of the neighborhood kids from messing around with it, although that's not really too much of a problem in our neighborhood. Let's open it up and see what we have inside. So inside you can see that the system itself fits, and here are the components that we have. We do have the filter housing as well as the softener housing, and that also comes with a filter wrench along with some screws and hardware to attach it, and the brackets, one for each container. And additionally, inside each box here we have the different mediums that go inside each container. So this one is the cartridge filter. I think this is the filter side. Okay, so this is the salt-free water softener side. So this actually contains the citric acid, and that's what's going to do the softening in our house. So that's going to go inside.
That's going to go in this one right here, right?
In that one, yeah.
Okay.
In the other box, here we have our carbon block filter. So that's what's going to filter out all the impurities of our water.
Okay.
Reasons we went with this: it does seem like a fairly easy system to install. I like the idea that it's saltless. Some of the other ones that people traditionally use, you have to buy blocks of salt and replace that. That can be a bit of a pain. And so as far as water softener systems go, I think that this is a little bit of a premium sort of product. It does cost a little bit more than some of the traditional water softener systems that you can buy at like Lowe's or Home Depot. This one typically retails for about $1,500. That doesn't include the cabinet. Obviously you have to buy that separately. I did buy this from a third-party vendor off of Walmart.com. So I saved a little bit of money there. It was about $1,100, and then also I think because I did that, I think this is a slightly older version of it. The newer ones I think will have a clear base here, and these two will already be connected, but they should operate the same, and they should take the same filters. So I don't think it's going to be too much of a difference. Just a slight difference in how you install the newer one. Because it's connected, you'd have one large bracket instead of two separate ones. And the reason why we went with this filter in particular is I just didn't want to mess with the salt that comes in a normal system. It seems like, I think this is going to be a little bit more expensive to replace the filters, but I think it's going to be a lot easier. It also takes up less space. You're not having to deal with the ion exchange. All right, now there is some controversy around these sort of citric acid softeners. Some people claim that they may not work as well as the saltwater systems, and that it seems like the jury's still out on that. I've seen some papers, both sides, debating whether or not they do work, but I've read that from different universities doing the studies that it says obviously it does work. It seems like the people that are saying it doesn't work typically want to try to sell you one of the ion exchange ones, and for a premium price. So we're going to try it out and see how it goes for us. I do know that they installed one of these on Ask This Old House, although they didn't mention what product version it was. I'm pretty sure it was this one. This is the premier version for the saltless citric acid type of filters. So I'm pretty hopeful about it. Another reason why we wanted to go with the citric acid is the citric acid will actually clean your pipes throughout the entire house. The longer it's installed, you'll get better results. And since this house has not had a working water softener for a long time. I'm sure we have a lot of scale and build up within our pipes already, and it'd be nice to get that all cleaned up, and especially out of our appliances, our dishwashers and washing machines and everything. So I think that this is going to help us take care of that problem. Yep. More so than a salt system would. Mm-hmm. So
now, isn't it true that with a softener system of some sort, things like soap, you will have suds more quickly?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's true of this one as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we picked this one as well because we were interested in not only cleaning our pipes, but hopefully helping with some of the issues we're having with our dishwasher, correct?
Right. Yeah. So our dishes have such hard water stains on them. It's been a mess. So I think that this will help us out there. The way the citric acid water softeners work, they do lower the pH balance of your water. So if you have already low pH balance of your water, you probably don't want to go with this. It can be unsafe. But I've read from our local water distributor what the average pH balance is, and we were within that safe range that we can still lower it and still be slightly acidic. Or roughly neutral. You definitely don't want to go too far on the base side. So just keep that in mind as well and get your water tested before you decide to purchase one of these. All right, so next we're going to go over the tools that you need to install it. And I'd say starting off with this cabinet, I mentioned already, it's the IVAR system from IKEA. It's pretty affordable. However, one thing to kind of keep in mind with this is that they do sell this with a base, and they don't intend for this cabinet itself to be attached to the wall. Now, I didn't want the base. The base is wood. I don't think it'll stand up outside very long. So we're going to try a few different methods to see if we can get this thing attached to the wall and let you know how that goes. But one of the ways that we're going to try to accomplish that is first I bought some extra brackets from Lowe's. So we're going to use these to kind of try to prop up the bottom of the cabinet. Also, we're still going to attach the brackets themselves to the house, to the stucco and to the concrete blocks outside.
So we're going to attach this through this to the wall on the outside.
So, exactly. So most of the weight will still be by the house. The only weight that we're going to have on the cabinet will be the cabinet itself, which is actually fairly light. And I think that these additional brackets will help kind of compensate for that.
Okay, cool.
All right, guys, so we moved out to the garage to take a look at the products that you're going to need in order to install this thing. So because the water line to our house is PVC, we're going to continue with that. It's a 3/4 inch line, so I bought some additional 3/4 inch PVC line. Now, depending on your building code, you want to check that to see if that's allowed in your area. Here in Florida, it is, provided we use it on the cold water side. So this is our main water. It's going to be cold. If it was hot water, it would need to be CPVC. But since this is what we already have existing, we're just going to continue and extending that. So along with that, you're going to need some CPVC cement that needs to meet the building codes. Usually some sort of purple and primer, and the cement itself. That's going to create a chemical bond between the pieces of CPVC and melt the pieces together. Also, you're going to need a whole bag of different fasteners and joints and stuff, whatever you think you need for your system. In this case, we've gone with a couple of elbows, a few couplers. The housing in itself does take a 1-inch thread. So we have some pipe adapters here that's going to take our 1-inch threaded pipe down to a 3/4 inch. So that's how we're going to install those, and we'll use that. Also, we wanted to have a valve, so we're going to have a bypass around the system as well. So if it ever has any issues, we can just bypass it and just use the water without the softener system. All right, so step one of installing this is I want this cabinet to match the outside of our house, so we're going to get that painted. We're going to start with primer and then cover it up with paint. Also, as you notice, this cabinet was not originally intended for this purpose, and we are going to have to bring some pipes in from below. So I'm going to cut some holes over in this area, maybe just notch it out to allow for the pipes to come through. We're going to do that on both sides. And also, in order to help protect the pipes, I did buy some rubber sealed grommet, sort of like a weather stripping that we're going to put to the exposed edges here. Just in case the pipe rubs for whatever reason. All right, so we're going to switch to some outdoor work type of clothes, and we're going to meet you outside where we can get started on doing the primer and doing the base coat on this. So let's go. All right, one last quick tip about this cabinet. You may notice I'm using some painter's tape to hold these little the clips here in place. I did find that even though this is what holds the door on and it should be fairly secure, I found that this does kind of tend to wander, and if it comes out, then the door will fall right off, and I found that out the hard way. You can see this door fell off and got a little bend in it. So
Excuse me, sir. You are not approved to be on this job site.
He's photobombing.
Excuse me. Alright. Fine. Just stay there. Ah!
Go on. Get out of here. Alright guys, so we moved outside, but before we get to painting, one last thing to check was we wanted to check our water pressure to make sure that we're within the regulations that are required for the system. And while we're out here too, we take a quick look at what our old system was. This is the old type of ion exchange unit that came with the house. So this is the old system that came with the house. It was installed when we moved in, but it's never worked since day one. So it's basically just been...
It's all just like gross and yucky.
Yeah, I mean this thing's broken. The cover came off and it's been laying there since before we bought the house.
Oh, great.
The timer system doesn't work. This is the salt ion exchange thing. It's filled with salt. That water is super disgusting.
No, I did not know this is how bad it was.
Yeah, well luckily our water doesn't actually go through this.
Oh, because we like bypassed it or something?
No, I just don't think that's how this works.
No.
So otherwise you'd end up with salt in your water, right? So we've got to figure out a way to get rid of that. I'm not sure how we're going to do that yet. We'll figure something out. And so basically just this is how it attaches to the house. It has an inlet and an outlet. So our inlet valve, water comes through here from the main, and then you can see this is that 3/4 inch PVC pipe that I was talking about.
I didn't realize that like the pipes. I don't know. I guess I'm just used to Ohio's pipes. That's all.
Yeah, I was a little surprised too to see the PVC. I thought it would be CPVC.
Yeah.
Apparently here in Florida, I mentioned earlier on the video that PVC is code, provided it's only on the cold water side. So
okay.
This is PVC. It's not CPVC. They do have different sizes, so be aware of that. They're not compatible with one another. So originally I did buy CPVC, assuming that's what it was, and I'm gonna have to return all that. So I bought PVC. All right. So first thing we want to do is I also bought a water pressure gauge.
Where'd you get that?
Amazon.
Okay.
It's just going to tell us what our water pressure is within the house. The system is spec to work with 60 psi or less. So.
Okay. So it should be like right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to install it here on the spigot, and then we're going to turn the spigot on, and that'll tell us what our water pressure system is.
I didn't know we had a spigot on the side of the house.
Now, if it's too high, you would need to install some sort of pressure reducing valve.
Like a regulator. Yeah,
those are fairly expensive, and I didn't really find very many good options for PVC either. So,
okay.
In this case, we're just gonna hope it's less than 60.
If not, we're screwed.
Well, then we'd figure out some sort of way. But if it's less than 60, we should be in good shape. So we'll turn it on here and see how we go. There we go.
Yeah, we're just under 60.
Yeah, it's about 52, 53. So
very good. So we won't make rocket ships with our canisters.
It shouldn't explode.
All right, good to know.
All right, and just one last comment about this is the directions do say it's optional to install the pressure reducing valve. However, if you don't install one and you have an issue with your system, it won't be covered under warranty. So kind of keep that in mind. All right, guys. So we moved outside. We have our paint clothes on. And before we get to painting though, one last thing I want to do is I have removed the bottom shelf from the cabinet, and I'm going to go ahead and cut the holes in that. I want to do this before we paint, so that way whatever exposed edges can then be protected with the paint once we're done. So we got this out, and we have our hole saw. I just grabbed a large one. I think this is like 2.5 inches. You can pick whatever size you want. None of this really has to be that precise. It won't be seen except for from the bottom, which unless you're really short, you won't see it anyways. Just want to make sure that we have ample room, more than enough room to run the 1/4 inch PVC pipe up through it twice. So we're going to get to that. Place that on the ground, and like I mentioned, it doesn't really have to be super precise, just roundabout.
Why aren't you wearing safety goggles?
Because I have glasses.
Not safe. Oh, so we not approve.
Okay, so we moved out to the backyard. We got our paint clothes on, and we are going to start with priming and painting this cabinet. And as I was moving it out here, but I was just thinking that if you're in a more northern climate, you probably don't need to go through any of this step here. Down here in Florida, we're strange, right? We keep our water softener and our water main on the outside of the house. In our case, the way our house was built, it's outside, and that's fairly normal in my neighborhood. Now, if you're up north somewhere, you got a basement or a garage, then you can keep obviously your filters from freezing and keep them out of the sun that way. But down here in Florida, since it's outside, it's what we're going to do. All right. So with that being said, let's get to painting. Yeah, and also in this case too, one last thing is, because we live in an HOA, I want to color match the house to try to keep it to make it blend in as much as possible. But also, I think I kind of like the white. I think we're going to leave the inside white. So when you open it up, you'll see white inside, but we're going to do color match house color on the outside. So let's get to it. All right, so we're going to start off with the primer. We have Rust-Oleum's Universal Bonding Primer. So this stuff's pretty good. We're going to use that first. And we're going to cover the entire exterior with this.
Okay.
Alright, so let's move on to time lapse and you can watch me primer this thing. Alright guys, now that we got our 2 holes cut, kind of rough, but like I mentioned, I got some gasket material to go over that. These are done, so let's get to painting. Alright guys, so it's been a couple days later. We got the cabinet all painted up and I've also attached it to the wall. So what we're going to do, I'll walk you through how I attached it to the wall real quick. I also want to mention that we do have a water pressure regulator here. So we did test the water. We're under 60 psi, so we're in good shape. We're going to maintain our warranty by keeping that water pressure regulator. That's in line with our whole house. Alright, so inside the cabinet, I've attached it to the wall here using 4 screws to the back. Use concrete screws and washers to kind of hold them in, as well as the brackets, which we mentioned below. So underneath here, these are the brackets. Added 3 screws to those each, and then also attached them to the bottoms of the cabinets here. The bottom of this shelf here does come out, so right here is where one of the connection points are. I've also added this C-channel weather stripping around the holes and around the brackets here to prevent any damage to the pipes when we run those up through here. And finally, I've attached the brackets here themselves that came with the NuvoH20 water system itself. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the water softener and the filter system in here. And you just bolt up to these brackets like that. We're going to cut all our pipes, make sure that they dry fit, and we'll get this dry fitted out before we actually start doing any real plumbing work and before we shut the water off. So that's where we are now, and we're going to keep going. So let's go. Alright guys, so the plan is we have the water inlets on the one on the bottom, the one that goes into the house, the outlet is the one on the top. So what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to bring the water main inlet up on this side. It's going to go across the filter here first, and then to the softener, and then back out down towards the house. I'm also going to install a bypass valve either on the bottom or on the top. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how it fits up. So that way we can bypass the softener and filter if we desire. So that's basically it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to install the filter. I've removed the bottom housing of it to make it as light as possible while I'm doing this install. Basically it's got 4 screws on top. They provide the screws for you. Just insert them in the bracket here and tighten them down with a 10mm socket.
We're sure it's a 10mm socket?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
We want to make sure that we have the inlet valve and the outlet in the proper order. So in this case, mine's going to go in, out, in, out. Alright, so now we got the filter housing completely installed. The softener I've left a little bit loose for the time being, because one of the first things that we need to do is make this connection between the two. And once you get this set, once you get these installed, you're not going to be able to adjust these. And these are opposite threaded, so definitely want to install this pipe in between before we get everything set up. So that's going to be the first thing we're going to do. For that, it is a 1-inch threaded PVC housing that I have here. I also have an adapter attached to each one of those to take it down to the 3/4 inch pipe that I have. That's what my main water line is. So you can use a 1-inch if that's what you have, but since I just went to the store and I bought all 3/4 inch pipes, I'm going to use these adapters instead. Alright, so first thing that I want to do here is, like I said, you know, when we get to really installing this, we're going to use some Teflon tape here, but I just want to get an idea of how long of a pipe is that I need. So we're going to go ahead and just mock this up for a moment. Make sure we don't cross thread it. Alright, and that gives me the distance here in between. And I'll take my pipe, hold it up in between these two, measure it, and cut it. And what I'm going to be using is I'm going to be using this multi-tool reciprocating saw here. This is going to be my weapon of choice for today, basically because it's battery powered, and it'll be easy to do over here. I don't have an outlet, and I don't want to take my big expensive Sawzall out here and lay it in the damp grass. So this is what we're going to be using. So I'll check back once we get that mocked up, and then we'll get it installed. Alright, so we got our pipe cut. Not the cleanest cut, a little slanted, but since we're using the PVC glue, the cement, it should be fine. If you're using SharkBite cement, it does have to be a perfect 90 degrees, but not too bad. And we're going to clean it up with a little bit of sandpaper, make sure there's no burrs to prevent water turbulence, and then we'll get it mocked up on there. Alright, so we got that mocked up there. They fit just fine. Next we're going to put the screws in. We're going to use some Teflon tape to hold that in place, and then we'll go at it with our primer on all the other sections that we're going to cement. And once we get the primer done, we're going to do the actual cement here. So we'll get that in place. Alright, I did a couple loops with the Teflon tape here. I usually go in the directions of the thread, so as we tighten it in here, it should tighten itself even more. Alright, and we'll do the same on the other side, and probably get a wrench out here too, just make sure that's extra tight. So we got the threads installed with the Teflon tape, and then everything else besides the 4 threads are going to be cement joints. So we're going to start off with the primer. I basically just want to get that all around on the inside and outside. You want to do both sides of your pipe.
Okay.
That should dry fairly quickly.
You don't do the inside of that pipe?
No, because this one's going to connect to the inside.
Okay.
Alright. Alright.
This is invigorating stuff.
Huh?
It's very invigorating stuff.
Invigorating. Yeah, it's something.
You're also gluing in there. So pretty much anytime 2 pipes meet, you got to use some glue. Is that what you're telling me?
Yep. But again, this is just the primer.
Oh.
And I think the technical term is cement. Yeah, it's not actually glue.
No.
It actually does a chemical bond between the 2 pieces of PVC, so that's what makes it so tight. It's not just attaching one surface to the other, but they actually bond on the molecular level.
Science with Lewis.
Yeah. A little bit better than Science with Gonson.
I don't know, Science with Gonson.
It's pretty funny.
Pretty funny. So yeah, how ridiculous. If you're watching this, love to collab.
They would come drop a wrecking ball in our house. There you go. You got that. Gonna move on to the actual cement now.
So everywhere you put purple, you're gonna put blue now.
Yeah. So make sure you get that everywhere. It's real important that you don't have any gaps.
Okay, so where there's purple, there needs to be blue, and I think you need to put some more blue in there because I still see some purple. No gaps.
Yeah. And to ensure that too, when we install this, we're going to give it a good twist as well.
Okay. Alright, so we're going to do all the blues and then we'll be right back. Alright, I don't know what I'm talking about. So apparently you do these one at a time and then we install them as we go.
The chemical reaction here happens pretty quick. So, like I said, so as you go in, you want to give it a twist there to make sure.
Why aren't you wearing gloves?
Because I'm an idiot.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you acknowledged that.
Alright.
I know I'm buying you for Christmas now.
I have gloves.
FYI, people who are watching this, apparently Amazon thinks Lewis should buy me gold screws for Christmas because that's...
I got an email the other day that said, save now on these great holiday gift ideas, and it was a bunch of wood screws.
No, thank you. Do not need them for Christmas. Thank you very much. Alright, so we're building all this together. How long does it take for the glue to dry? The chemical reaction to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. So that's where it normally happens fairly quickly, but I like to give it 24 hours or so before we really put some pressure on it. But once we got it all installed, we'll go back and read the instructions and see what it's recommending.
Okay. All right, multiple pieces have been added to there. Now what else we're doing?
I only had one extra one of these, so we'll set that aside.
Okay.
I need it eventually, but
okay.
No.
I think you need more blue in there.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay.
Yeah. Little paintbrush thing here is getting a little dry.
Trips. All right. Now comes the moment where everything miraculously has to fit sideways, and then also top to bottom. So I don't know. Is it gonna work? Wow, it's like you kind of measured. Did you measure?
I did.
Does the measurements work?
Yep.
How did you get blue all over your fingers?
I just wiped one.
Oh. And listen, if you're a plumber, don't come at us for how much glue is used. Just like, let us live our life, man.
Yeah, we are weekend DIYers. Even though our title is Professional Weekenders, it's kind of a play on professional and amateur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We only play professionals on the weekend. It's like we play professionals on TV.
Yeah. Remember, you don't have to listen to me. I'm just some guy on the internet.
Yeah.
All right, so that's basically how this is going to go. We're just going to keep going in that fashion. I'm going to finish tightening this thing down, and then we'll get the rest of it all mocked up, and before we cut the water off, and plumb in there, and then it'll just be a bunch of cement. So cue the time lapse. Alright, so here's the deal. Just about got it all set up, dry fitted. Most everything looks pretty good. Got a bypass valve here, so we turn that on. If we close that, then the water won't flow through the filters, and then we'll keep this one here closed most of the time, so it doesn't go around it. So we can go allow the water to flow either direction. One thing I'm kind of running into here is that for whatever reason, when I installed the brackets, I thought I needed more space on top, so I installed them a little low. It's about an inch extra room up there, and down here on the bottom, that extra inch would go a long way to help in getting these filters out, because they kind of pull down a little bit, and right now I'm kind of up against this T-fitting right now that I use for that bypass. So I think I'm going to have to move these brackets up to the top of this, and then maybe replace one of these pipes here, make it a little bit longer, and the same on this side here. Get the extra length, give me that extra room. I think it'll just make things a little bit easier, and better do it now than finish installing it and have to deal with it forever. So let's do that. Alright, so I remember why I left the gap there. It's because of these eyelets here. You have to kind of put it on and slide it down. I mean, I guess I could have matched it all the way up against there and then kind of just screwed it directly to the wall. That would have been an option. It'd probably save a little bit more room, but I went ahead and just moved it up enough to give me just the bare minimum amount of room to slide it down. And that gives it just a little bit more clearance down here on the bottom. So now I can easily put on and take off, you know, these things that kind of go up and slide there, and it gives me a little bit more room down here at the bottom to work with. So I think we're in good shape here. Next part of the plan is I have the lines already mocked up down to here. This is where the old system is. So next up, I'm going to shut off the main water, disconnect this, and finish getting the rest of this all mocked up, and we'll start getting it connected. Alright, so now I think we're all set. Everything is dry fitted. I'm pretty happy with the placement of everything here. Like I mentioned, we have a shut-off valve here so we can bypass, and a bypass valve here so we can allow the water to flow through this bottom pipe instead of going through the filters if we want. Cut the main lines down here, got that all dry fitted in. Ran this one up tight close to the cabinet. I think that looks good, just to have the 2 lines coming in from the bottom. The only real issue that I had here was getting this thing out of the ground. I had no idea that was in there that deep. I mean, that's over a foot deep. It was really wedged in there, and it's super heavy, so that was a struggle. And this thing here is a struggle too, but I already loosened this the other day. I think that's the filter from the old system, and this is the salt bucket. And I guess that's probably the ion exchanger, and this is the salt bucket. So this thing's about half full of salt still, and salt water. I did get about 15 gallons of water out of there to make it a bit lighter, quite a bit lighter. At least now I can move it, but it's still heavy. So gotta figure out what I gotta do with these. I'm not sure. I don't think the trash man's gonna take that one. So maybe I have to take that to like a hazardous waste recycler or something. We'll see. I'll do some research. But I think we're all set here. Now it's just a matter of cementing everything in place similar to what I did here. So let's get it done. Alright, and here we go. She's all done. Got everything plumbed in. All of it's connected down here into my main line and back into the house. So all that's left is just give it a little bit of time, let these joints set up, and then we'll turn the water back on, see if we got any leaks. Now I know that my joint work here leaves something to be desired. It's not the greatest, pretty messy. Obviously a professional could have done much better, but I tend to believe in these sort of things that more is more. So I'd rather have more and make it look messy than have any leaks. So that's that. It's all wrapped up. Give a little bit of time and turn the water on, and I'll show you the final product here, what it looks like once we close the door and lock it. Got this nice little cabinet here, color match to the house. Let me get that tape out of the way. So nice little cabinet, color match to the house. All that's left to do is fill in this hole. I can't believe how deep that thing was. The thing was really buried in there, so get that cleaned up and be all done.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Oh, and I did want to give you an update. We've had this system running now for about a month at this point, and I will say that it does appear to be working. The number of hard water stains we've had throughout the house have decreased. The water and the coming out of the in the shower is much more softer. It's good for your skin. So overall, I'd say I'm really happy with it. There's no taste difference, other than actually the bad stuff has gone away from the filter. So much less chlorine flavor than we had before. The water, I think the water tastes great.
Yeah.
And it works really well, and I think it's doing a pretty good job of cleaning everything out. So all we have to be aware of is to change these filters out once every 6 to 8 months, depending on usage. That comes with this giant wrench. And I think I want to see if maybe I can find some of those water filters on sale during the Black Friday sale.
Yeah.
Alright guys, so here's your pro tips for installing the NuvoH20 water softener system. I'd say number one is when you do install the system, make sure that you use a ton of Teflon tape on your threaded connections and tighten those all the way down. I did have an issue where I just tightened them as far as I could get them with a reasonable amount of force, but they weren't all the way in there, and so when I turned the system on I had leaks at all 4 sections, so I had to redo that. So definitely tighten those all the way down, make sure that the threads are no longer visible at all. Number two is another change that I made when installing the bypass valves. I already had these two here that I thought, 1 and 2, that I could use to shut the water off to the system and also bypass it. But then when I had to fix the threaded issues up here, I went ahead and installed this one because without this valve I wasn't able to completely isolate the water softener system from the house, and I still had to shut water off at the main house, which was kind of a pain while I'm trying to work on fixing these issues. And number 3 is we did have our city inspection come out today and everything went fine. We passed, although I will mention that make sure you use the EGHBFW type of PVC. It's the thick walled PVC. There are 2 types when you go to the store to buy. So at least here in Florida they require that you buy the thicker walled stuff. I think that's probably just because it's going outside. or maybe because of the drinking water. I'm not sure, but the inspector did mention that you want to make sure you get that right type of PVC. So that's going to do it for us today. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Maybe let us know in the comments below if you've ever installed anything quite like this. And we'll see you next weekend. Hey guys, welcome back to Professional Weekenders YouTube channel. Today we are in my house, our house. She got mad at me last time we did that. Alright guys, so here's your pro tips for installing the new... Alright guys, so here's your pro tip. What?
I like how you start and then you're like, oh wait, that's not right.
Yeah.
Alright, go ahead.
Water softener and filters. So if you want to know how to do it, then stick around. Let's go. Alright. Cut.
That's
and,
it?
Well, and then we'll get to... Now we're going to get...
I know it's...
thing again.
No, I'll edit it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I can. I mean, I wasn't really thinking of it in pro tips. It just kind of turned out that way.
Okay, fine.
Right. It's gonna. Every time you're out here, it's always blooper reel, blooper reel, blooper reel.
Because they're fun.
Watch him struggle to get this can open.
Can I open it? What just happened?
Battery dies. I'm gonna put this in there.
Oh, yes, I am.
Yeah, I can do the. I forgot the brand name when I was. I get so hyped up for the intros, like it's just.
I know. I'm aware of your hype. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, you got to be. You already gotta hook them in.
The last time you did it, he made me jump. I actually jumped on the camera. Thank God for image stabilization.
All right,
go ahead. I think we need a clamp. I don't know. Something about a punch. I don't know. I'm just here for the ride.
Yeah, there was something else to say about that. Reducer, adjust, you know, what do they call these? Stop walking at me.
I'm only laughing because you just said, I feel bad.
You feel bad what?
That it's not working right now.
Well, I got that one cut, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
but you know, you didn't see the struggle on that one. So I think that we're going to probably cut out a lot of this. Just use like 2 seconds of me, when it's working right.
Okay.
And then we'll cut to, oh, it's done.
Okay. Take 4.